Hey, hey. Welcome to Ask A Brotha Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James. And y'all, the last 24 hours, the amount of love and support and what this is turning into, I'm still in awe of. I can't exactly explain what this is, but I know that I'm grateful, genuinely appreciative of the feedback, the support, the excitement of us being able to build almost like a little mini community of open-minded men and women and people who just genuinely want to see things get better and looking inwardly at what it is that they would take to get there. The promise was that, once we hit about 10,000, we were going to release our next episode. Well, the beginning of the day, I think we were at about 9,500 subscribers, and by the end, we were at over 12,000. So I don't exactly know why this is happening, especially right now in this season of my life. But nonetheless, I'm here. I'm going to show up and do what it is that I think I'm meant to do here. Obviously, you all are starting to engage with me and starting to see me, I guess, as a social commentator and a critic of culture and society, which is cool and all. And I think that's typically what people are doing when they get behind microphones and give their opinions on said topic or thing. But for me, in terms of how I'm redefining what it is to be a thought leader in this space, for me to have that standard of critiquing and making prescriptions of how society and culture should move and be, for me, I'm actually going to also start things off with kind of doing that inwardly. I want to be a critic of myself, especially my past self, and that I need to be and model the growth and transparency of what it is that I hope we can be in terms of what's happening between us as men and women and just in general with how we see things. So I'm going to today hold myself under that same scrutiny, talk about some of the ways in which I failed and haven't lived up to my highest ideals and how that's humbled me enough to have a particular attitude and mindset about how to approach praise and adoration and support from others. I'll speak to that soon. But LeBron James, very, very polarizing figure. Obviously, we have our GOAT debates of whether or not Michael Jordan or LeBron is who's the GOAT kind of thing. But I love his story. A guy that was born in Akron, Ohio, and ends up playing for the state in Cleveland, and he left in the prime of his career, it seemed, and he was hated. People hated him. They burned his jersey. People just wanted to see this man fail because a decision that he made resulted in so many people feeling like they were hurt and abandoned and even lied to in some respects. And that all changed when he came back home. When he came back to Cleveland, the very place where he was most hated and despised, he was able to win and bring a championship to Cleveland. And generationally, how people saw him and what he represented changed just like that. But he had to go to his lowest point for people to be able to see his climb and people to honestly, fully be able to truly embrace him for him. He really went through that hero's arc. And when I think about me at my lowest, when in the past I've failed in a marriage, I was morally bankrupt in some respects. I've cheated. I've been dominated by my own lust. I just didn't always show up as the greatest person or friend or even family member. Bouts with depression and anxiety and getting to points where I was so down and out that I was like, I just don't know that I even want to do this thing called life anymore. And just being at such a low point and literally functionally moving and living with just shame, being humiliated, not being anywhere close to the version of who it is that I was capable of in those seasons of my life. I'm not proud of it. But when you climb from that space, and you climb out of that emotional and mental dark pit and you start to see the light again and you see what it took for you to do that when most people in your life left, abandoned you, isolated you. Now you have to cling to the reins of life and literally pull yourself back into enjoying things again, enjoying people again. And I think that lesson kind of taught me something that maybe is going to be helpful now, which is that people are fickle and you're not perfect. And if you try to prop up this ideal and say, this is what society should do and everybody should try to be this, and you never acknowledge that, you haven't always been that, or you're still actively trying yourself. I think you're setting the stage with your audience to see you in ways that's maybe not realistic, not true, not transparent or honest. The reality is like I've made quite a bit of mistakes with the types of choices of people who I chose to try to do life with, sexually and even just friendships. And I've had to be humble enough to acknowledge that, it wasn't always the other people in the past that didn't show up for me. It was also me not showing up for me. I haven't been the greatest partner. I haven't always been the best guy, friend. When you just lose so much of yourself and you lose your own self-respect, let alone the respect of those around you, you functionally were living a lie. And now I'm on the other side of that, where I'm me. I embrace all of it, the good and the bad, because I think that that's morphed and shaped me and prepared me for, I guess, what it is that I'm doing now. The difference is that I won't allow you to. Remember, I keep using this chess analogy. This is the next round of chess. And I think that maybe what I'm starting to present is that maybe there's a pocket of individuals that live in our culture and society who just for whatever reason really wasn't doing these public platforms. I think as a people, a lot of us are maybe more thoughtful than maybe we're letting on. And in my case, I'm actually maybe a little bit more cerebral than even how I've kind of presented so far. I've thought about this moment for years, strangely enough. And how, if I were to enter into this space, could I do so knowing that I've been in an interracial relationship? I've had a failed marriage. I've not been the best person. I've not always been in control of managing my mental health. Like, how does somebody like me with all those flaws, with all that brokenness and reasons to be in shame, how can you be one of the ones to speak to what's wrong in society? You're broken. You're flawed. Who would listen to you? This will be the next test. This will be the test to see what the answer would be to that question. So no, you don't get to meet me at the beginning stage of this thing that's growing, at me at my best. No. I actually prefer that you meet me at my lowest. You meet me in the areas of where I've cried, where I've been ashamed, when I've been humiliated, when I've questioned my own existence. And what's the purpose to find out what that is? And, it's brought me to a journey of self-reflection, to introspection, and a desire to grow in the ways that I wasn't growing in my younger days. Am I perfect even now, or have I arrived? Absolutely not. But I know that I'm better than I used to be. But the main importance of why I'm doing this is to set the tone that this is not your normal channel. I am not your normal content creator. I'm going to acknowledge that I don't have it all together. I'm just somebody that's interested in learning and growing and literally allowing the public to witness it, try to model it, and talk about how my contributions to the dating pool. You can't piss and poop in the dating pool and keep talking about how trashy and dirty it is. Like that, I'm realizing now, like, wow, I really, really, really contributed to the very thing we're talking about now. And I'm striving to now undo it. I'm striving to clean this stuff up. And it starts with cleaning up my own stuff, my own mess, but not creating an illusion where, the way I carry myself now, I don't want you to think this is who I've always been. The way in which I speak now, I don't want you to think I've always talked this way. I'm a human being like everybody else. I got my flaws, I got my shortcomings, and I'm genuinely trying to fixate and focus on all the areas that I know typically can be a hurdle for people to be able to receive a message. So rather than waiting till 6 months or a year or two from now, and then people from the past or people I've never met or fake allegations of some kind or whatever attack or version of events of how people want to spin things to try to make me sound and be worse than I am. The worst thing I've ever done is not cherish and love the women who genuinely gave access to me in the previous eras of my dating relationship history. That's the worst. I haven't really done much of anything else, honestly. Almost all my problems, I think, have involved women, it seems like. I might need to focus on that for one episode. But the reality is I'm just a dude who's flawed like everybody else, who's trying to perfect the thing that I know I can't perfect in this life, my heart and my mind. You now have a choice to decide if you want to keep rocking with me, if you want to keep supporting, Or if you want to look for somebody who's mentally, emotionally, and behaviorally a little bit more consistent or sound and maybe hasn't made certain mistakes, yay, it is what it is. I do know, though, that going through that process and how it is that I listen and who I listen to now, I've learned that I actually don't base who it is that I'm going to receive truth from strictly primarily through the lens of what season they are in life in terms of like relationship status. There's people who are married who are the worst examples of it and will tell you not to get married. There's people who are single that love and will support you as you try to better yourself, especially in the context of a relationship. I'm realizing that whether it's married or divorced or single, the most important factor is actually whether or not the person you're listening to has a healed view and perspective of said sex that they're speaking on. It doesn't really matter if she's a single woman per se, if she has a healed view of men. I don't know that it matters that the person who may have been divorced has a very healed view of both sexes. So that's actually where I'm at now, where I'm willing to go where truth takes me and hear it from whoever's mouth speaks it. And I'm learning to not base my rejection or acceptance of whether or not I really like or accept the person. I'm trying to identify fallacies. I'm trying to really, really hone in on modeling and showing you how I think we can become much better. If you remember the 60s and you listen to how the civil rights leaders spoke with passion and conviction, and they were learned and they were wise, and it seems like what was like normal back then became like a niche thing of people only that are seen as now intellectuals are. Why can't we all read again? Why can't we all start really contributing to the social commentary? Why do we have to wait for somebody to be exactly perfect in any and all areas before we're willing to receive and grow and be challenged? I know I'm not the moral, relational, I'm not the perfect guy, and I'm never going to try to be. I'm just somebody who's flawed like everybody else. The difference, though, between my flaws and yours is that I believe me being more open and public about it could lead towards a better understanding of how it is I want you to see and receive this information. Much of what I'm talking about are things that I've wrestled with, struggled with, done, and seeing how it's harmed myself and potentially hurt and harmed and let down those who valued me and loved me. So yeah, whether it's lust, whether it's stupidity or immaturity, the stage has been set. So you get to decide now if you want to stick around. And I don't fault people who are going to leave after this. My focus is on people who are emotionally and intellectually curious about growing as people, growing as human beings, growing in their understanding of themselves and others, and wanting to actually address all the stuff that we keep complaining about. But in order to do that and to feel comfortable with being one of those thought leaders, I guess, I have to be willing to open myself up to scrutiny. And that includes me being critical of the areas in which I fail. So you all are going to hold me accountable, and I'll explain more in the future what that looks like. But thank you for sitting here and listening to this long diatribe. And now I would say the journey really does begin, and we get to some topics. So next few episodes is coming out. I'm going to be answering the question of, do I hate women? And no, you don't deserve a good man. And no, you don't deserve a good woman. And the reason for those last two, why it's so important, is because I think that in order to truly understand who you are and what you bring to the table and how people perceive you, you have to recognize that you don't deserve another human being. So I'm going to break down how it is that I think we need to deconstruct and rebuild who we are, and rebuild ourselves not through the lens of ego, but actually through the lens of humility and desire to be a better human being and person. So I'm excited to kind of introduce these constructs and just throw this out into the ethos of the public discussion. And hopefully you all will receive it. So that's me. Those are my flaws. Those are my shortcomings. Those are my issues, if you will. And none of this is new information to my current partner. So just so you're all aware of that, or the people who are presently in my life. I'm just a guy. I'm just Jeff. And I'm just somebody who's actively trying to learn and grow and apply the very things that I'm sharing with you all, flaws and all. So for those that it was meant for, I hope that you receive the authenticity, the transparency, the truth, the vulnerability, and that this will start a trend of people potentially not trying to be so fake or pretentious or displaying themselves in such a way to make it seem like they've never struggled or never been through some stuff. I want to do the opposite. I want to set the tone. I want to set the standard that maybe we should start rewarding honesty. Maybe we should start rewarding transparency. Maybe we should start rewarding men, especially in this space, being open and vulnerable about their shortcomings, and that not being the impediment for why it is you can't receive something good, true, or positive that they're sharing. So yeah, basically I want us to get away from attacking the messenger and to focusing more on the message and the argument. And if we become less emotionally reactive and responsive, we'll become much more logical and linear in our thinking. And I think we'll become wiser as a result of it. So yeah, so that's it. That's the episode. I look forward to engaging with y'all and really building this thing up and seeing what Ask a Brother, eventually morphs and turns into. Be on the lookout for some future podcast appearances I'll be making this month and next, many of which are people that you've heard of and especially in the culture. I'm just excited. And a special thank you to all the current subscribers and future ones to come. And thank you to all the podcasters who have behind the scenes been collabing with me to help me in this process of getting started. I'm already learning the politics of this stuff. And at the end of the day, I want to wisely handle this space well. I don't have all the answers, but I am going to ask the questions and answer the ones that I think I do. But I'm going to have an open enough mind to be ever a student. And I'm hoping that those who are watching this, both the silent watchers and also those are the actual supporters, that's you. So that's me. That's the message. This is the Godson, and this is the end of episode 2. And next time I will, cover these new topics, and we'll see what it leads to. So thank y'all for joining the journey, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.